Chris. On the popper. Hey, got us a fish. We're up here in North Jersey, Oxford Furnace Lake. My new buddy Dane. It's going to be a good one. Let's get this one off and get it back in the water. Real nice fish. Flip this guy in real quick. Oh! You know, you really shouldn't try to flip a fish in that big with a treble hook. You know, Dane, we've been trying to do this show for a couple weeks. We finally got it in. You said we have to come to Oxford Furnace Lake and try it out. There's this crazy cicada thing going on, but this lake's really interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I mean, this lake actually, it is man-made, and it's pretty shallow all around, but it's just got a nice mix of cover. You got sandy bottoms, rocky bottoms, a lot of weeds, but you don't get a lot of top weeds, so you know, really good flipping water, really good frog water, and it's just an all-around good fishery. Has really nice bass, really nice muskie. And if you're not into catching those, you can throw live bait on. There's trout and catfish and pretty much anything you want to catch.
Right. Now, where are we located here?
We're in Oxford, New Jersey, which is in Warren County.
Right.
It's easily accessible. You can go 33 or 31 or 46. So it's pretty much a little small, quaint town, only about maybe 3,500 people.
Right.
And it's just not too many people know about it. And it doesn't get a lot of heavy pressure, and there's just a lot of good fish in here, and it's, even if you don't catch a lot of real good ones, the numbers are great.
Right.
And you know, any day on the water is a good day.
Well, I think we're going to start fishing again, and you know what, this lake's got some interesting history. We'll try to talk about that some while we're fishing too.
Sounds good.
Let's get back to it.
He's big.
That's it. Get him over here to the left side of the boat if you can. We'll go for the lift.
He's decent.
Yeah, it's a nice fish.
There we go.
All right.
Nice frog fish.
That's it. You got a nice frog fish. There you go.
Let me take him.
Unhook him. And then show them to everybody at home, nice and proud.
Nice fish.
Frog fish. Nice fat fish. Let me put them back, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the history of this place, because this is a really interesting lake. Of course, I'm going to pick up my rod and cast while you talk, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dane, this lake has a lot to do with the founding of our country.
Yeah, yes it does. This lake was actually, obviously the name is Oxford Furnace, and it was one of the first furnaces used to make iron, and that goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War. And then eventually they just, you know, I think it was decommissioned in the early 1900s, so they turned it into a lake. But there's actually a manor up at the top of the road, and George Washington stayed there. There were a lot of other famous people who stayed there. So even though this is a really small, quaint town, there's a lot of, I guess, historical value in this area.
Right. That's absolutely wild. And when you were talking about them mining for iron and stuff, I can see there's a ton of rock in this lake.
Yeah, I know the first main purpose for the iron was actually cannonballs.
Wow. So you think one of the cannonballs that was fired to free the country could have come right out of this lake?
Absolutely.
That's something else. Wow, you could tell it's been mined because there's so many ups and downs here. It's almost hard to control the boat a little bit here with the
They
ups and
essentially,
downs.
they really didn't do much to make a lake except fill it up. Yep.
You got it good. Good. Now, Dane, while you're unhooking that fish, are there any other types of fish species you run into in the lake? What do we have here?
There's quite a few. A really good population of largemouth, obviously, but there are some smallmouth, and there's some trophy muskie in here, both pure strain and tigers.
Right. Now, how big were you telling me they get?
The pure strains, for the most part, they're really, they're not too long, but they get real heavy, so like 36, 38 inches.
Right.
But they have some weight on them, 15, 20 pounds. And then the tigers in here, they're just real long and skinny. The biggest one that I've seen a picture of out of here was 48 inches.
Right. Now, this lake is well known for the muskie fishing, right?
Yes.
But if you don't want to fish for big fish, you could bring your kids here and you could fish for what? For bluegill, crappie, stuff like that?
Throw a worm on, there's guys that fish off the dock and they catch everything from bluegills to bass to catfish. There are some trout left in this lake and they do stock it every year.
So it is a lake that just about anybody can come to and fish.
Yep.
Now, one of the things is this lake is rather deep at some points.
Yeah, it's basically a giant bowl.
Right.
And for the most part, the coastline is anywhere between 2 and 10 feet deep.
Right.
But basically where we are right now, it gets all the way down to 30. And I know a lot of people who fish here, that's where they fish for the catfish and the trout. And I mean, overall, it's just a good lake for depth and different depth ranges and weed cover and
right. And even
else.
though, the boat's sitting in 12, 13 feet of water right now, we're fishing frogs right up against the grass.
Yep.
Up shallow. Now, what is that? Tell me what the scoop is with that. This is all because of the cicadas?
My guess is yes. I mean, we've had a lot of cicadas at this lake this year, and as we've been fishing, you can see them in the water, and a lot of these bass are just holding really tight to the banks because the cicadas are holed up in the trees, and as soon as they fall, they scoop them up. So if we land our frog on top of a fish, we don't really have to do too much.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally fishing inches of water. And I mean, it's hot. It's going to be 95 degrees today. It's summertime. And, most people would say, oh, we got to go deep. Let's go deep. But we're just fishing barely enough water to get the frog to float.
And I mean, even if there weren't cicadas, there's plenty of bass that'll actually sit up shallow most of the year because there's ample cover.
Well, that's good. So if you don't even have a depth finder on the boat, you can go around, you can fish the weed lines in the shallows, and you can still catch fish.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy enough. The lake isn't super deep. It's only real deep in 1 or 2 pockets. So for the most part, even if you get away from the shallows, you're only going to be in, like we are right now, 10, 15 foot of water, real easy jig in water, and if you want to run a deep running crankbait.
Yep. I think we're going to get to catching another fish here pretty soon. You know what? I heard him. I watched it go tight. There you go.
Probably swing him up.
Yeah, take a step back there. There you go. Hooks out of the frog. Look at that. Got him with both hooks in the roof of the mouth.
And he hammered it.
Yep. There was no getting away for that one.
Nice
little fish. Now, Dane, we were talking about the lake and a little bit of its history. How big is this lake? Do you see a lot of people in here? Tell me a little bit about, your experiences here.
The lake itself is only about 55 acres. It's very shallow. Not a lot of, like I said before, not a lot of fishing pressure. I would say on a really, really busy day, you might get 4 or 5 boats out here. So, I mean, if it's, if you're in the area, it's a nice little spot to come and check out. And, there's a lot of good fish and not a lot of pressure.
Right.
So.
Now, you kayak here a lot.
Yes, it's a great kayaking lake. The wind can be an issue sometimes, but I mean, it's shallow enough on the banks that you could pull right up to a bank and just fish horizontally, like right down the edge. And that's usually what I end up doing. I end up flipping under stumps and under brush, and there's always good fish hanging out. And every once in a while you get hooked into a muskie, which is a lot of fun in a kayak.
So you can get way up shallow.
Yeah, you can pretty much
with the kayak and get into places we can't get with this boat.
You can get about 6 inches deep, which
now,
is.
Can a fat guy like me do that, or
is
there
yeah,
a weight limit to these things?
No, you just got to buy a bigger kayak, because I'm a pretty hefty guy, and you just got to get a longer kayak. They make all different weight sizes. They have the Hobies and the Wilderness System series, or I've noticed for bigger guys the sit on tops are better.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't stand in them, but I think the sit-in tops are definitely better for someone a little bigger, and then the sit-ins they're a little easier to cruise around in.
Okay, well, let's get back to fishing. The old drop shot going. Yeah, there's one swimming with it. There we go. There he is. That guy ate a drop shot. Down off the edge of the grass. There we go. Now that's different. All of our fish have been coming up shallow. That one, there's some sparse grass out here. Tossed a drop shot in there, went to pick up, and he was swimming, faster than the boat was moving. So that was a pretty good indication I got him. But nice little chunky guy. I think we'll go back and get another one. There you go, fishy.
All right, I just saw a fish shoot off. I think he's right behind this stick. So if we can just get it in there.
I saw the wake.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Boy, talk about calling your shot on that one. We saw him up there chasing something. Tossed the frog.
Another one right next to him.
Yeah, there is another bass right there. Tossed the frog in there. It didn't eat it. Tossed a soft plastic up in there. And he swallowed it. That's a pretty decent fish. There you go.
Little chunky one.
Yeah. Seems like they're still up here. I mean, it's broad daylight. It's hot out here, and these fish are still up shallow. It's remarkable.
I think there's just enough food for them that they'll.
It's keeping them here.
Yeah, they cruise all over the lake.
Yep. And the water here is exceptionally clear. We could definitely see down 4, 5, 6 feet. And not only are the fish that are feeding seem to be up there, but there's also a few fish scattered in the grass that we're seeing. But those fish don't seem to be feeding.
No.
The fish that are feeding are way up shallow. So that's our pattern. Put mud flaps on the lure, throw it up there as shallow as possible, and catch your fish. On the weed line. That's something we just... Man, I don't think he's that big, but he's pulling like crazy. Let's see. There we go. Keeper size. We just made a move. We came out here to fish these weed lines, and we're not far from where we've caught some other fish. Now, there we go. He had it good. Get him back in the water. We were just chatting about good weeds versus bad weeds. Now, when I was younger, I thought any weed was a good weed, but it turns out that green grass actually puts oxygen off into the water. But dead dying grass sucks the oxygen away.
Yeah, and they'll stay away from it.
So you want to try to find the most lush green grass that you can find, and that'll a lot of times be the most dependable areas to find fish and grass. weeds, some bass.
That's a good one.
Want a frog. Yep, that's a better one. Whew. Hey, it's the middle of the day. They're still coming up for the frog. Decent little fish. We're going to get this one back. We're just catching them and catching them.
Yep.
There we go. Hey Dane, it's getting up in the day a little bit here, and we've moved away from the shoreline now. We're out here fishing a little deeper grass. What's your experience here on this lake and fishing a deeper grass like this?
It can be a little frustrating, but there's definitely fish held up within it. You just gotta hit every spot, and because there's so much of it, they got a lot of room to roll around in.
Right.
But they're definitely in it.
Yep. So what we're doing is we're out here looking for thick clumps, we're looking for holes, and we're looking for points. Any little irregularities we can find in the grass can hold the fish. And the same goes with depth changes in the grass. If it gets a little shallower or a little deeper, that can always also be a spot to catch them. Now, you've switched over to a jig.
Yeah.
And I'm fishing a shaky head. And that's a good combination. You're fishing two lures that don't really compete with each other. Not to say that a shaky head won't catch a big fish or a jig won't catch a small fish, but you know, you've got a good chance at a big fish. I've got a good chance at other size fish. It gives us a good idea of what's around when we go to hook something. You're doing a lot of shaking there. You prefer to do the shaky?
It really depends on the time of year. In the summertime, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in here early in the year, there's not a lot of weeds, so you really got to slow it down and almost slow roll it. But when there's a lot of weeds, I like to shake it a lot right through the weeds and just bump as many as I can. And if they're sitting on it, you can only hope that it just irritates them enough that they'll come over to it.
Right. So what's your preference? Is it the thick patches? Is it holes? Is it the points? Or is it just where they happen to be that day?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I like to fish all of it.
And something that's really important when we're doing this is we're fishing something that's heavy. I mean, not so heavy that it's going to make a giant splash, but something that's heavy enough to penetrate the weeds and get down to the bottom relatively quickly.
I mean, the biggest tricky part is right now is a lot of these weeds are dead.
Right.
So it's determining which ones to throw in.
Right. The more lush, the greener stuff.
Yeah, they'll
you know, that seems to hold the fish, and that's what we're looking for. We're actually out here looking for some greener grass, maybe some different grass, because we have some stuff that looks like a cabbage weed. I mean, I really don't know the exact name, but it looks a lot like the cabbage that we see in the Midwest. Then we also have milfoil out here, Eurasian milfoil. I see strands of it out here. And then there's another weed that's it looks like eelgrass that we see on the rivers and stuff like that. And that can hold fish. So sometimes it could be the species of weed that holds the fish. I think we're going to get back to fishing, see if we can catch a few more.
And now for a closer look at today's tackle, Delaware Valley Outdoors presents the Tackle Box. For more information about the tackle used on today's show, go to DelawareValleyOutdoors.com.
Well, Dane, it's the time of the day when we get to my favorite part of the show is the tackle box. It's my favorite part of the show because it means we caught fish. Okay, so let me introduce you to the star of the show, Mr. Froggy. The frog caught fish for a very good part of the day. Now, it looks like it's just a regular frog, but this frog has been mutated. Okay? Dane did a little change to it, and he's going to tell you about it.
All right, well, pretty much what we do, this is pretty much a new frog out of the box. So what you're going to want to do is, what I like to do is you cut the legs maybe to the eye, or so they're about an inch and a half. And the reason you do that is so when the fish come up, if they're just grabbing at the tail, they're more likely to get the hook.
Because you do get a lot of short strikes.
You get a lot of guys just nipping at the back end. The next thing I like to do is you take a little rattle that you'd stick in a plastic, soft plastic. Even jig rattles are really good. And there's a little compartment in the back of every frog where the hooks come out. And if you put a big rattle in there, it'll help pull those finicky fish because they'll hear it and it just annoys them.
Right, because basically the frog makes no sound. Okay, it goes out there, lands with a splash. And a lot of times today, we could actually see the fish. We could see a wake going towards the frog. You know, it'd be, here he comes. We're both watching, waiting for him to eat it. And generally what happened was I jerked the frog out away from the fish. I didn't give him enough time and I missed a lot of fish today. But by adding a rattle, you're adding noise to it.
Yep.
So it's that extra little bit that'll catch you a few more fish. Now, you don't want to fish this on ultralight tackle. No 4 and 6 pound line, no ultralight rods.
No.
You know, this is braid country.
Yeah.
I was fishing today with a medium heavy 7-foot rod that I also use for flipping and pitching and jig fishing. I was using 65 pound braid. That's my standard of 65. Other people fish a little bit lighter. I like heavy tackle. I was fishing 65 on my Lew's reel, 6-to-1 gear ratio, because once you hook the fish, you need to get them coming towards you. Otherwise, you wind up with bass and salad, and a lot of times all you wind up with is the salad. Now, we had a little tragedy on the lake today.
Yeah.
You want to show us what's left of your reel? Here you go, I'll hold it.
All right. And this would be the rod.
These are the 2 parts of a 1-part tragedy. It seems that Dane made a cast with his soft plastic and the bass ate it. He set the hook and his reel snapped. Now after the reel snapped, he didn't go, oh, my reel snapped, and cry like a little baby, okay? He handed me the rod, not like he handed me the line and said, here, you pull them in. He handed me the rod and he pulled in a bass, a log, and a wad of grass. This is the kind of thing that happens out fishing. You have to be ready and you have to have several fishing outfits out with you. You always need a spare. Now let's talk about how we got hooked up. It wasn't Match.com or any one of those other sites.
No.
Right? We actually met off of YouTube. Now, Dane's got this really cool deal that he does with this camera here. And I'm going to hand Dane the camera and he's going to explain to you what he does to film his YouTube videos all by himself. There you go, Dane.
Alrighty, basically what I did was I was watching YouTube videos to start and I saw hat cams. Now you can buy a hat with a mount inside it and they're about 25, 30 bucks a piece. But if you don't have it, you can just get any, hopefully my hair's not. You can just get any hat, beat up hat, and you take pretty much a bolt and 2 washers, whatever you see fit, and you just put a hole right in the hat and you match it up with the screw on the bottom of your camera and it'll screw right in, and then you can either film while you're fishing or when you hook into one, and it's just turn it on, and it's as simple as that. And it's all first person, exactly what you're seeing, and you can take it pretty much anywhere.
Now, do you ever have people laugh at you? Go, hey, who's the dork with a camera on his head?
Sometimes. Most people think it's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's something
absolutely.
they haven't seen before. And the cool thing is you have the GoPros. They're a little, more expensive, but there's a lot of cameras on the market now that are made for, being outdoors, being on the water. This one is actually waterproof. I mean, you could drop it, and drop it 20 feet down and you could still retrieve it. And it's just a good active camera, and they make tons of them.
Now, speaking of, I'm not going to say cheap, okay, but inexpensive ways to do stuff. You've got your own YouTube channel, okay, and you've got, the story behind it. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Well, it started out the channel name is The Broke Fisherman, and it basically was meant for showing some of the really nice lakes in New Jersey and other places I fish. But it was just a good channel to show that, hey, you don't need a ton of money to fish and have a good time and land some really nice keepers. And it's not, you don't have to spend all the money. There's plenty of, I would say, bargains in the
Right.
fishing world that are just as compact reels, and it's just an easier way to go sometimes when you don't have the budget to buy a boat
Right.
and that's why I do mostly everything out of a kayak because
And
it's
you've
just,
caught some big fish out of these little lakes.
yes,
I mean, this isn't little lake, little fish. I mean, you've caught some really nice fish.
yeah, and I have a couple videos up on my channel showing anywhere from 4 to 8.5, 9 pound bass out of some of these lakes,
And they're beautiful fish. I don't get to catch fish that size every time in bigger lakes. I mean, we brought the big boat because it's all we had. Besides, we got 3 of us in here. How do you think we do? 3 people in your kayak?
it's only got 1 seat, so
Yeah, but you'd be out paddling me.
if we were all out in our own kayaks,
Yeah.
I think we'd do perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's just today was a tough day. It was just the fish weren't holding shallow like they do a lot of times.
Yep.
And but yeah, as far as kayak fishing goes, I like it the most just because you have access to other parts of lakes that you can't necessarily take a boat in. And I've learned from plenty of experience that you can catch decent sized fish in 6 inches of water.
Well, there you go. Get yourself a sheet metal screw, a hat, stick a camera on there, film your own videos. Hey, that's the tackle box.
That's ridiculous. Look at that.
Oh, well here, I'll hold the rod and you catch the fish.
Yeah. You want to put the tip down a little? I'm gonna grab the line. Typical bad day.
I'd say it's a good day if you get the fish.
I think he might have come off. No, he's still on there.
He's still on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see him. This is fantastic. We just broke the reel. We got a good hook set on the fish and he's coming toward us.
We're hooked to a fish and a possible stump.
Yep. We got fish, stump.
And another
Weeds.
bass checking him out.
Look at that. There's another bass right there. And that was a nice one. This is a good one. You know what? This is a great way to end the show. Don't break them off. This is your big chance. Here we go. No pressure. No pressure.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
My good buddy Dane here on Oxford Furnace Lake, northern New Jersey. I got to tell you, it's been an awesome day. I want to thank you a lot for the invitation. Don't forget to visit us on the web, Facebook. Hey, you can even check me out on Twitter at Steve Horvath1. Till next time, I'll see you on the water. He's off. Don't feel him. What's that?
This is the only lake around here that really has had a lot fall in. Might not be big enough to eat it.